If you try and find the best image upscaler, search Reddit, Google, YouTube, ChatGPT, and you'll find one result: Topaz Gigapixel. And yet, if you actually sit down and use Gigapixel, one thing becomes abundantly clear: it sucks. I'm not talking about the fact that it's overpriced, which it is. I'm not talking about how it can be painfully slow with blatantly optimistic time estimates. I'm not talking about how your usage habits are tracked and shared with Topaz by default. I'm not even talking about the dark patterns that Topaz uses to lure you into spending more money. What I'm talking about is the fact that Gigapixel produces results so bad, I'd rather stick with the low-res originals. Let's take this example image that Topaz once prominently displayed on their website. It features a somewhat impressive, if fundamentally flawed, result. For example, this eye doesn't make sense. The shape of her nose and upper lip change. The mouth starts off closed, but now she has teeth. But when I actually test this image myself, I get far worse results. That eye is sure enough a problem, her mouth is a mess, and everything outside her face is a disaster. And if I brave the sluggish and exhausting tedium of using one of Gigapixel's beta models, I get even more horrifying AI slop. And I want to emphasize, this is an image chosen not by me, but by Topaz. Now, in Topaz's defense, Photoshop, with its new generative upscale set to Firefly, as by default, also produces bad results. But see, Topaz shouldn't do about as well as any other basic upscaler. It used to cost $99 up front, and you were automatically signed up for a $49 a year subscription fee. Recently, this has changed to a perpetual $149 a year subscription for as long as you want to use the service. That's only marginally less expensive than Photoshop and more than Lightroom. Gigapixel just does this one job, and based on the claims of their site, you'd expect it to be magic. Now, when Gigapixel first came out in 2018, there wasn't really anything that could create the kind of magic results that they're at least attempting. But here it is in the waning days of 2025. Topaz is built into Photoshop, and AI has come a very long way, to the point where you can find dozens of free tools that outright trounce Gigapixel. Just look at this result from one of those free tools using actual diffusion-based AI. I'll show you how I got that result in just a minute, but first I want to show you a bit more about what Topaz promises and what you actually get. Gigapixel provides a few options, but I'm going to break it down into three basic approaches. First, you have traditional upsampling, which includes generative face recovery, easily the thing that Topaz does best. Second, we have a few generative models, Standard Max, Wonder, and Recover, that try to detect and restore details. And third, we have two so-called redefined models that advertise more accurate results, but are several times slower to apply. Here we are to take a look at what this looks like inside Gigapixel, looking at another image that at one point in time was featured on the company's website. This is from just a couple of months ago, and as you might imagine, the website made it look like we were going to achieve miraculous results, none of which I can even modestly replicate inside the actual software. And so if I click and hold, this is the low-res original, complete with big chunky compression artifacts. That's on Topaz. This is their advertised before image, and this is what I get when applying the standard model. And so you can see there's variations on standard up here at the top, and then we have these generative models down here at the bottom. We'll see examples of those. I've also turned on face recovery, which is the most successful of the options inside Gigapixel. It purports to maintain the accuracy of the image so that the person still looks like themselves, but that does not mean they look good. This eye on the left-hand side is absolute garbage. We've got all kinds of chromatic aberrations, bad eyelashes. Over here on the right-hand side, we have the contents of the garbage disposal. There's no way the iris would bleed out into the white of the eye, and it bleeds into the flesh tones as as well. And then we have these porcupine quills for eyelashes, this poorly rendered mouth with low resolution drool, and then notice this horizontal line of hair right here. This is before, and then this is what Gigapixel came up with. But most appalling of all is that everything outside the face recovery zone turns into low res crap. This is before. Notice it's not changing, and this is after. Hey, real quick. There is so much more to say about Gigapixel than I can fit in this video. I have more examples, complaints, and even a few success stories that I just couldn't fit into this script. Which is why I recorded an exclusive 30-minute in-depth follow-up video at my Patreon, which is patreon.com/deeknow. And I should say, for every video I post here at my YouTube channel, I create a Patreon video as well, meaning that I have more than 100 exclusive videos waiting for you right now with more in the works. So there's always something coming. And now back to Topaz and its imperfect software, Gigapixel. Now, Deke, you say, if Topaz isn't up to snuff, what should I use? How do I get those aforementioned magical results? The answer to that is unfortunately not simple. If you want the best results possible, you could use a tool like Comfy UI. It's a bit too much to cover in this video, but if you're interested in a full video on Comfy UI, let me know in the comments. As far as practical options go, I opted for a Photoshop plugin called Crispinator that leverages OpenAI's image model to do the actual upscaling. It's linked below if you want to check it out. Using a simple and free tool like this means I can take an image, click upscale, and get, well, magic. Granted, it's creative, meaning it repositions details. This is, after all, real generative upscaling. And so the problem with this kind of solution is that it necessarily reinvents the entire image every time. But come on. Click a button and 90 seconds later you're done, with results that outperform what Topaz can provide and at a far better price, nothing. Quick demo with a vintage photograph from the Dreamtime image library. Link in the description. It's very low res. You can see the pixels, not to mention low focus, and we have a world of chromatic aberrations. Here's what Gigapixel comes up with when set to standard max, which is the first and fastest of its generative models. It's hard to know whether the faces are rendered accurately. We have so little to begin with. However, if so, then the guy on the left is wincing in pain and the guy on the right is so depressed I feel sorry for him. Everything outside the face recovery zone, however, is nonsense. Why the halftone patterns? And we haven't done anything about the chromatic aberrations, which is why I bumped things up to a mode that's supposed to do better, possibly, but in this case it does worse. It's the recover model. It takes longer to apply, and we end up getting this deranged eye right here. This guy's eyes look like they've been cut from a different photograph using a dull pair of scissors and collaged into place. Then we have these textures in the shirts, and we haven't done anything, again, about the chromatic aberrations. Let's compare that to Crispinator, which is going to give you a different result every single time, but it does take care of the chromatic aberrations. We can, of course, pick apart the image and find problems. I'm not sure if this guy's hump is accurate. By gum, it actually is. However, these two guys, I would say, are approximately the same age, whereas according to Crispinator's upscale mode, the guy on the left is much younger. Now, Crispinator also offers a restore mode that's going to restore color to a black and white image. Looks absolutely great. Again, no chromatic aberrations, although we do have haloing around the shirts in particular. And the guy on the right has progressed to, I'd say, his early 50s, although he's looking really good. Now, Gigapixel also offers a creative model, and you can take advantage of it. It's very, very time consuming. And in one case, at least, it gave me this. Now, after all that, I don't think that Gigapixel is 100% bad. In fact, its number one advantage is that it tries very, very hard to stay true to the original detail, meaning that an upscale person always remains recognizable. Here we have a photograph that's more than 20 years old. It is very low res, obviously highly compressed as well, but it's my own kids, so I expect to be able to upsample this image and have them remain absolutely recognizable compatible, and sure enough, they do. Now, I would not say that this image is perfect, but it's quite good. I'll go ahead and zoom in to 100%. You can see that we have almost this kind of repetition of detail in the hair. Do you see that? The eyes look good. The nostril looks great, both of them. And it looks like we're trying to add some teeth to the mouth, but that's okay. I can forgive that. Where things fall apart is outside the face recovery zone as usual. So we've got this weird stuff going on in Sam's shirt over there on the left-hand side. And if I drop down to Max's thumb, it's a mess. The fingers are awkward, and then these toes are pretty messy as well. In which case I could switch to a different model. So I'll go with standard Max, which is a pretty good one. And then I'll scroll back up to that region we were looking at before, maybe zoom back out to 50% so we can take in both faces. And I will click preview entire image, and it's going to calculate the time remaining. Notice it's telling me that it's going to take just 8 seconds. Whereas when it completes, it shows me it took 3 minutes and 8 seconds. And while that may not seem like that big a deal, it is a 20x mistake on its part where the estimation is concerned. In return, though, I do get a very good looking image. The hair is in better shape. The mouth is in better shape than it was before. This portion of the shirt is in better shape as well. And so these details hold up very nicely. Hey, Future Deke here. While we were in the process of making this video, Adobe added Nano Banana Pro via Gemini 3 into Photoshop. Now if I take this image and enter a basic prompt, whoa! Now admittedly, this is not as good as something you can get with a totally custom workflow like in Comfy UI, but it unequivocally renders Topaz obsolete. It's just really so groundbreaking that I had to jump in and show you all this. Now I'll let Past Deke send us off. The problem is that image, while undeniably commendable, is not representative of my day-to-day experience with Gigapixel. And for $149 a year, that image should be the rule, not the exception. All right, I'll leave you with a few thoughts. First, I should say that Topaz has great customer support. When I needed help, I spoke with real people and got quick results. Second, I am not sad I bought their software. Gigapixel is fundamentally interesting. Plus, I supposedly have a perpetual license now, which is nice if Topaz sticks to it. Third, Topaz now offers free cloud processing, which is considerably faster. The downside is that the results are either softer or just plain worse, depending on the model, than what you get with the slower local processing. For examples, I once again point you to my Patreon. But for the present, my conclusion is pretty simple. Gigapixel costs a lot, you lose access if you stop paying, it has a steep learning curve, and it's not reliable. Going into this video, I expected to like Gigapixel. I really did. I was stoked to spend some time with an amazing piece of software that upscales images in a way that I've never seen before. See, I used to review consumer-grade digital cameras for Macworld magazine back in the early 90s, which is to say, I have a backlog of low-res images like you would not believe. Topaz, if you're listening, you're small, you're growing. I love that, and I believe you have a good heart. My subscription remains active, and I stand by eager to see how Gigapixel and your other products improve in the future. Meanwhile, those of you watching, I welcome your thoughts, experiences, and reactions, so comment below. And then subscribe and turn on notifications so you know what more I have to share in the future. I'm Deke McClelland. This is Deke Now.